My BF threw a wet wipe at my face with which he wiped his shoes of dog shit on it. My boyfriend, 31M, and I, 32F, have been together for almost 2 years. He's generally a quiet, calm, and gentle person, but he's the type who tends to keep a lot of his feelings bottled up. We've built a strong connection over the past couple of years, but there are definitely some highs and lows in our relationship, like any couple. Recently, we took a weekend trip to the mountains, which, despite the rain, was pretty romantic. We spent a lot of time talking about our future together, even considering the idea of moving in with each other. We've always been pretty compatible, and the fact that we laugh so much together has really helped us through tough times. My boyfriend is the kind of person who, even during disagreements, likes to say that we should find humor in situations rather than get too serious or depressed. The trip was going really well, but on the last day, things took an unexpected turn. We had already had a bit of a surreal experience earlier in the trip. At one point, we even heard a bear while hiking in the mountains, which was a bit nerve-wracking. But we managed to have fun despite the challenges, and we were looking forward to one last special moment before heading home. On our way back, we pulled the car over near a riverbank to admire the view and take some final photos of the mountains. While we were parked, we decided to change out of our wet clothes into something more comfortable for the drive back. As I was getting out of the car, I noticed a pile of dog poop near the right side of the car. Not wanting my boyfriend to step in it, I mentioned it to him and told him to be careful. Everything was fine until a wasp somehow got into the car, buzzing around like crazy. I have a huge fear of wasps, so naturally, I panicked and jumped out of the car in a hurry. Meanwhile, my boyfriend stayed inside, trying to find and deal with the wasp, but in the process, he stepped right into the pile of dog poop I had warned him about. As soon as I saw what happened, I instinctively started laughing. I know it probably wasn't the best reaction, but it just came out of me without thinking. At first, I didn't realize how upset he was because he didn't show it right away. He didn't yell or anything, but I could sense his mood shift. He wasn't laughing with me, that's for sure. He took off his sweater, and I made a lighthearted comment about how attractive he looked without his clothes on, trying to keep things playful. Then, he tossed the sweater at me, and I assumed it was just him being goofy. Still, I made a point of saying it wasn't my fault that he stepped in the poop. Then he asked me to hand him some wet wipes so he could clean his shoes. But there was something different in his voice. It wasn't the usual tone he uses with me. I handed him the wipes, still giggling a little, but my laughter seemed to aggravate him even more. And that's when everything escalated. Completely out of the blue, he threw one of the dirty wet wipes, yes, the one covered in dog poop, right at my face. I was absolutely stunned. It hit me square in the face, and I didn't even know how to react. At first, I just stood there in shock, trying to process what had just happened, and then I started to cry. The whole thing felt so humiliating and hurtful. I couldn't believe he would do something like that, and I was overwhelmed with emotion. My boyfriend immediately apologized and said it was an accident, but to me, it didn't feel accidental at all. It felt intentional, like he wanted to humiliate me in that moment. I told him through my tears that what he did wasn't normal, and I couldn't stay in a relationship where that kind of behavior was acceptable. I was furious that he had ruined what had been, up until that point, a really beautiful weekend together. The drive home was completely silent. Neither of us said a word. When we finally got back to our place, he admitted that he was in the wrong and that what he did was unacceptable. But at the same time, it felt like he was trying to minimize how I felt, like it wasn't that big of a deal in his eyes. He even went on to explain that my laughter had triggered some unresolved trauma from his childhood, when he used to be bullied in school. He said that hearing me laugh made him feel like I was making fun of him, and that's what caused him to lose control. He also tried to clarify that he didn't mean to throw the wipe at my face specifically, just in my direction, as if that somehow made it better. But to me, the distinction didn't matter. It felt like he was still trying to make excuses, rather than fully owning up to what he had done. Eventually, after a lot of back and forth, he acknowledged that he should have just asked me to stop laughing if it was bothering him that much, instead of lashing out in such a hurtful way. While I appreciated that he was able to admit that, the whole situation has left me feeling really conflicted. On one hand, a part of me thinks this should be the end of our relationship, because, honestly, who does something like that to someone they care about? It was so disrespectful and demeaning. But on the other hand, I'm finding it really hard to just walk away, especially since we've built so much together over the past 2 years. Even though he apologized, I don't feel like he fully understands how much he hurt me, both physically and emotionally. He's never been great at expressing his feelings, and I know he struggles with showing remorse, but that doesn't make it any easier for me to move past this. Now, I'm left feeling torn about what to do next. Should I forgive him and try to work through it, or is this a sign that our relationship is fundamentally flawed?